Have you ever looked in the mirror first thing in the morning and wondered why your eyes look more tired than you feel? You slept. You didn't cry. You didn't stay up late. And yet there they are. The same puffy shadows, the same heaviness under your eyes that seems to show up no matter what you do. Why does this keep happening as we get older? And why do so many expensive creams seem to do almost nothing about it? Not anymore. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's happening beneath that thin layer of skin, and you'll know which simple, inexpensive oils actually have real science behind them. I'm going to walk you through 5 oils that people commonly use for under-eye puffiness and dark circles, ranked from helpful to the one I think deserves the most attention. This isn't about miracle cures or overnight transformations. It's about supporting your skin with ingredients that have genuine research behind them, used correctly. If you're over 60, you've probably noticed that your skin doesn't bounce back the way it used to. That's not in your head, and it's not just about sleep. Dermatology researchers have documented real, measurable changes in the skin and underlying tissue around the eyes as people age, and understanding them is the first step to addressing them sensibly. So let's get into exactly why this area of the face changes so much, and what, if anything, can genuinely help, starting right now. By the way, if you find this kind of information useful, comment yes, smash that like button and subscribe, because I'll also walk you through the practical daily habits that go alongside these oils, the small things many people find make a real, visible difference over just a few weeks of consistent use without spending anything extra at all. You deserve to feel confident every single time you catch your reflection, not only on the days you happen to look unusually rested. So let's begin. Why the under-eye area changes as we age. The skin beneath your eyes is different from almost anywhere else on your body. It's roughly 1/3 to 1/2 of a millimeter thick, making it some of the thinnest skin you have. Underneath it sits a small cushion of fat that protects your eyeball, held in place by a thin band of connective tissue called the orbital septum. When everything is working the way it's supposed to, this system is invisible. You don't think about it at all. As we age, 3 things tend to happen, often around the same time, which is part of why the puffiness seems to intensify rather than stay steady. First, collagen production slows down considerably after age 60. Researchers who study skin aging have found that this decline is gradual but steady across the decades, and the connective tissue holding that fat pad in place gradually loses tension as a result. Second, the lymphatic system, which is responsible for draining excess fluid and waste out of your tissues, becomes less efficient with age. A review in a dermatology journal noted that lymphatic function can decline measurably in older adults, which means fluid has a harder time draining from areas like the delicate skin under your eyes. Third, the tiny blood vessels in this region become more fragile over time, and when they leak slightly, the result can be that bluish or brownish discoloration many people associate with dark circles. Scientists studying this discoloration have linked it specifically to hemoglobin breakdown products settling in the thin tissue under the eyes. None of this means your skin has given up. It means the systems that used to work automatically now benefit from a little extra support. That's where certain oils come in, not as miracle fixes, but as tools that can genuinely help with hydration, the skin's protective barrier, and mild anti-inflammatory support. It also helps to understand why mornings are usually worse than afternoons, since this trips up people who assume their eye bags are steadily getting worse when they're really just seeing a normal daily cycle repeat. While you sleep, you're lying flat for hours, which means gravity isn't helping fluid drain the way it does when you're upright and moving. Add in a slower metabolism overnight and less blinking, which normally helps pump lymphatic fluid through this area. And puffiness tends to peak first thing in the morning and ease as the day goes on. For older adults, this effect is often more pronounced simply because the underlying drainage system has slowed down across the board. There's also a genetic and structural piece worth mentioning, honestly. Some people are simply born with a slightly more prominent fat pad or a thinner orbital septum. And for those individuals, no oil or cream, however well studied, is going to produce a dramatic structural change. What these oils and habits can realistically influence is the fluid, the inflammation, and the surface hydration and texture of the skin, not the underlying bone and fat structure of your face. A quick word of caution. Before we start, the skin under your eyes is delicate, so a few ground rules apply no matter which oil you choose. Use a very small amount. Apply it with your ring finger, since that finger naturally applies the lightest pressure. Pat gently rather than rubbing or tugging, since repeated pulling on this thin skin can make things look worse over time, not better. And patch test on your inner arm first if you're trying any new oil, especially an essential oil, since sensitivities can develop or change as we age. It's also worth mentioning that if you wear contact lenses, take extra care to keep any oil away from your eyes themselves, since oils can cloud lenses and cause irritation. And if you're already using a prescribed treatment from a dermatologist or ophthalmologist, mention any new oil to them before adding it to your routine, since even gentle natural ingredients can occasionally interact with medicated creams or drops. Number 6. Rosehip seed oil. Let's start with rosehip seed oil, which is one of the more interesting options because of what it contains rather than any single dramatic claim. Cold-pressed rosehip seed oil naturally contains linoleic acid and small amounts of natural vitamin A compounds, along with antioxidants like vitamin C. Linoleic acid is one of the fatty acids your skin uses to maintain its outer barrier, the layer that helps keep moisture in and irritants out. As we age, that barrier tends to weaken, and skin that's lost some of its barrier function often looks duller and drier, which can make puffiness and shadows more noticeable. Some smaller studies on facial skin have found that consistent use of rosehip, whether taken orally or applied topically, was associated with improved hydration and elasticity in areas with thin, aging skin. The most frequently cited trial, published in Clinical Interventions in Aging in 2015, was a randomized double-blind study of 34 adults aged 35 to 65 with facial wrinkles, comparing standardized rosehip powder to astaxanthin, a well-known antioxidant supplement, over 8 weeks. Using objective instruments including a visioscan, corneometer, and catometer, researchers measured improvements in wrinkle depth, skin moisture, and elasticity in the group taking rosehip. It's worth being precise here since that particular study involved rosehip powder taken by mouth rather than oil applied to the skin, so it speaks to the ingredient's biological effect rather than proof that the oil itself, rubbed under the eyes, produces the same result. For topical use specifically, a smaller, more recent pilot study used facial imaging analysis on cold-pressed rosehip seed oil applied directly to skin, showing modest improvements in wrinkle visibility over about 5 weeks. Because that pilot study involved a small number of participants, I describe the topical evidence as promising, rather than conclusive for eye bags specifically. Still, as a gentle, nourishing oil, it's a reasonable place to start for older adults with dry or dull-looking under-eye skin. Apply 1 to 2 drops after cleansing at night, patting it in gently, and give it at least 6 to 8 weeks before judging whether it's making a difference. When you're shopping for rosehip oil, look for one labeled cold-pressed and unrefined, since heavily processed versions lose some of the beneficial compounds during manufacturing. A good unrefined rosehip oil often has a slightly deeper amber or orange-red tint and should be stored away from light and heat in a dark glass bottle since it degrades quickly when exposed to either. Number 5. Chamomile oil, properly diluted. Next is chamomile oil, which is worth discussing because of its long-documented calming effect on inflamed or irritated skin. Chamomile contains a compound called bisabolol, which researchers have studied for its mild anti-inflammatory properties in topical skin applications. Since some puffiness under the eyes is related to low-level inflammation and fluid retention, particularly after a salty meal, poor sleep, or seasonal allergies, an ingredient that calms local inflammation may offer some visible benefit. Dermatology reviews on botanical anti-inflammatories frequently cite chamomile as one of the better tolerated options for sensitive facial skin. The important detail here is dilution. Chamomile essential oil should never be applied directly to the skin, especially skin as thin as the under-eye area. It needs to be mixed into a carrier oil at roughly 1 or 2 drops of chamomile per teaspoon of a gentler oil like sweet almond or jojoba. Mix it in a small, dark glass bottle. Apply a small amount at night with your ring finger and keep it refrigerated if you find the cool temperature more soothing. If you notice any redness or irritation, stop use immediately. This is one where more is definitely not better. Number 4. Sweet almond oil. Sweet almond oil earns its place on this list mostly because of how gentle and well tolerated it is, which matters a great deal for older adults whose skin has become more reactive over the years. It's rich in vitamin E, an antioxidant that helps protect skin cells from oxidative stress, the kind of cumulative damage that builds up from years of sun exposure and simply living. Vitamin E won't reverse decades of change, but supporting the skin's antioxidant defenses is a reasonable, low-risk habit. Almond oil is also a good emollient, meaning it helps smooth and soften the surface of the skin, which can make fine lines and slight puffiness look a little less pronounced simply because the skin appears more hydrated and even. Warm 2 or 3 drops between your fingers before applying, since this helps it absorb more comfortably, and use it as the base layer of your nighttime routine, before anything else you might apply. Give it several weeks of nightly use before drawing conclusions, since skin changes gradually, not overnight. One thing I appreciate about sweet almond oil, especially for people newer to using facial oils, is how forgiving it is. It rarely causes irritation, it's widely available at almost any pharmacy or grocery store, and a single small bottle tends to last for months given how little you need per application. A registered clinical trial comparing topical almond oil to a prescription retinoid on facial wrinkles found a meaningful improvement in wrinkle severity among women who used almond oil, a reminder that gentle, widely available ingredients can hold up under real testing. Number 3. Argan oil. Argan oil is often associated with hair care, but it has a genuinely solid research record for skin as well, particularly for hydration and elasticity in older women. A study published in Clinical Interventions in Aging followed 60 postmenopausal women over 60 days, dividing them into a group that consumed argan oil and a group that consumed olive oil as a comparison, while both groups also applied argan oil topically to a small area of skin on the forearm. Researchers measured skin elasticity using several standard clinical parameters and found statistically significant improvements in the group using argan oil, both from consuming it and from applying it directly to the skin, while the olive oil comparison group did not show the same improvement. A related study in postmenopausal women also found that daily topical argan oil reduced transpadermal water loss, meaning the skin held onto moisture better while increasing the skin's water content. The mechanism behind this comes down to argan oil's combination of vitamin E and essential fatty acids like oleic and linoleic acid, which support the skin's barrier function and help defend against the kind of oxidative stress that breaks down collagen over time. For the delicate under-eye area specifically, there isn't dedicated clinical research the way there is for general facial skin, so I'd treat this as a well-supported moisturizing and elasticity-boosting oil rather than a targeted eye bag treatment. Apply 1 to 2 drops of pure, cold-pressed argan oil under each eye after cleansing at night, patting it in gently with your ring finger, and give it at least 8 weeks of consistent use to reflect the timeline used in the research. Number 2. Coffee berry extract. Coffee berry, sometimes called coffee fruit or coffee cherry, comes from the fruit surrounding the coffee bean rather than the bean itself, and it's become a genuinely interesting ingredient in skin research because of how concentrated its antioxidant compounds are. Coffee berry is rich in polyphenols, particularly chlorogenic acid, which multiple laboratory studies have shown helps neutralize free radicals and reduce the kind of oxidative damage that contributes to skin aging and dullness. Researchers studying coffee berry extract on human skin cells in lab settings have found it supports collagen-related activity and reduces markers associated with cellular aging, and a more recent study encapsulating coffee berry extract in a delivery system called nanoliposomes found improvements in skin elasticity and brightness when tested on healthy human skin. I want to be transparent about the nature of this evidence. A good portion of the coffee berry research so far has been conducted in the lab, on skin cells rather than on large groups of people using a finished product over time, so I'd call this a promising ingredient backed by strong mechanistic research rather than one with the volume of large human trials that something like caffeine has. That said, the antioxidant case for coffee berry is genuinely strong, and it pairs well with the other oils on this list. Look for coffee fruit extract or coffee cherry extract blended into a lightweight carrier oil and apply a couple of drops under each eye at night, patting gently rather than rubbing. Number 1. Sea buckthorn oil. Sea buckthorn oil comes from a small orange berry that's been used in traditional medicine for centuries, and in recent years it's earned real attention in dermatology research because of one fatty acid it contains in unusually high concentration, palmitoleic acid, also called omega-7. This is a fatty acid your skin produces on its own when you're younger, and its levels tend to decline with age, which is part of why skin can lose some of its plumpness and resilience over the decades. A study examining sea buckthorn pulp oil on human skin cells found that it significantly reduced UV-related cell damage and collagen breakdown, and that palmitoleic acid specifically helped protect collagen levels by blocking an enzyme called MMP1, one of the main enzymes responsible for breaking down collagen as we age. Separate research on oral sea buckthorn oil in a randomized, placebo-controlled trial found measurable improvements in skin condition among healthy adults, And other studies have linked the oil's rich mix of fatty acids, vitamin C, vitamin E, and plant sterols to improved moisture retention and a strengthened skin barrier. Most of the strongest human evidence so far involves oral sea buckthorn oil rather than topical application, directly under the eyes, so as with rosehip, I want to be precise rather than overstate it. What the research does support clearly is the underlying biology, that palmitoleic acid genuinely helps protect collagen and support the skin's barrier. Sea buckthorn oil has a deep orange color that can temporarily tint the skin if over-applied, so use just a single drop per eye, pat it in thoroughly, as the final step of your nighttime routine. Habits that matter. Just as much as any oil. I'd be doing you a disservice if I made this only about what you apply topically, because several everyday habits play a significant role in how puffy your eyes look each morning, particularly after age 60. Reducing sodium in the evening matters, since a salty dinner can lead to visible fluid retention by morning. Elevating your head slightly during sleep, even with just an extra pillow or a folded towel, uses gravity to reduce overnight fluid pooling in this area, a technique that's well documented in sleep medicine literature. Staying consistently hydrated throughout the day, rather than drinking most of your water in the evening, helps your body regulate fluid balance more evenly. And prioritizing consistent quality sleep supports the natural repair processes your skin relies on overnight, since researchers have found that skin's own repair activity tends to be highest during deep sleep stages. There's also the matter of allergies, which many people over 60 don't immediately connect to their eye bags. Seasonal allergies or a mild sensitivity to something in your environment, whether that's dust, pet dander, or a fabric detergent, can trigger low-level inflammation around the eyes without the more obvious allergy symptoms like sneezing. If your puffiness tends to come with any itching, watering, or redness, it may be worth considering whether an allergy is playing a role alongside the natural aging changes we've already discussed. Alcohol in the evening is another factor worth a brief mention, since it can contribute to both dehydration and blood vessel dilation, neither of which works in your favor when it comes to morning puffiness. Being mindful of timing, ideally finishing several hours before bed, can make a noticeable difference the next morning for some people. None of these habits will erase every sign of aging, and I want to be honest with you about that. But combined with a gentle, appropriate oil used consistently over weeks rather than days, many people do notice a real visible difference in how rested and refreshed their eyes look. If you decide to try any of these oils, patience matters more than intensity. Give any single oil at least 4 to 6 weeks of consistent use before deciding whether it's helping. Skin that has taken 60 or more years to reach its current state doesn't transform in days, and anyone promising that kind of overnight miracle is asking you to believe something that isn't grounded in how biology works. What's realistic is a gradual improvement in hydration, a slightly calmer, less puffy appearance most mornings, and skin that feels a bit more resilient over time. You deserve accurate information about your own body, especially as you navigate the changes that come after 60. Your lymphatic system, your collagen, your skin barrier, none of it has failed you completely. It simply needs a little more support than it used to, and now you know which of these common, inexpensive oils have real research behind them and how to use them safely. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.